There is a stone in Lebanon that weighs roughly 1,000 tons. It was cut by hand and it was meant to be moved. For comparison, the largest mobile crane on Earth today would struggle with it, and the people who cut it had no wheels capable of carrying it, no engines, and no steel. Yet across the ancient world, again and again, stones this size were quarried, transported, and raised. For centuries, the explanation was simple: enormous armies of slaves, brute force, and unlimited time. Modern physics says that answer is almost entirely wrong. Start with the numbers, because most people underestimate them badly. At Baalbek in Lebanon, the stone of the pregnant woman weighs around 1,000 tons. A nearby block, uncovered in 2014, is heavier still, the largest worked stone ever found. In Egypt, an unfinished obelisk still lies in its quarry at Aswan, cracked and abandoned. Had it been completed, it would have weighed over 1,000 tons and stood 40 meters tall. And these aren't outliers. Egyptian statues of 80 tons were moved routinely. Now here's the constraint that makes all of this genuinely difficult. A wheel doesn't help you. Under that weight, wooden axles snap and wheels sink into the ground. So how do you move 80 tons across open desert? The answer was hiding in plain sight, painted on a tomb wall for nearly 4,000 years. In the tomb of Jehuti-Hotep, dated to around 1880 BC, there's a scene of a colossal statue mounted on a sledge. 172 men pull it with ropes, and standing at the very front of the sledge is one man pouring water onto the sand. Egyptologists argued about that figure for over a century. Most assumed it was a ritual. Then, in 2014, physicists at the University of Amsterdam decided to test it. They dragged a scaled sledge across trays of sand at different moisture levels and measured the force required. Dry sand piles up in front of the sledge and drags it down. Wet sand doesn't. Water forms tiny bridges between the grains, stiffening the surface. The result? They could halve the number of workers needed. One man with a water jar was worth 86 men on the ropes. That's not brute force. That's engineering. Now go 4,000 miles into the Pacific, to Rapa Nui, Easter Island. Nearly 1,000 stone figures, some weighing over 80 tons, moved from a single quarry across the island. There were no large trees suitable for rollers, no draft animals, no metal. For decades, the leading theory was that islanders laid the statues flat on wooden sleds. But the island's oral traditions said something different, and researchers had been ignoring it. The traditions said the statues walked. In 2025, anthropologists Carl Lipo and Terry Hunt published a study analyzing 962 moai. They noticed the statues left along the roads share two features the finished ones don't: a wide D-shaped base and a deliberate forward lean of about 6 to 15 degrees. Those aren't decorative. They're the exact features you'd design if you wanted an object to rock. So they built a 4 1/3 ton replica and handed ropes to 18 people. 4 on each side rope, 10 at the back, pulling in alternation. The statue rocked side to side and stepped forward, roughly 89 centimeters at a time. 18 people moved at 100 meters in 40 minutes. The oral tradition was literally correct, and the bigger the statue, the more efficient the walking becomes, which brings us to the hardest case of all. Stonehenge sits on Salisbury Plain in southern England. None of its stones are local. The upright sarcens came from Marlborough, roughly 25 kilometers north. The smaller bluestones came from the Preseli Hills in Wales, around 240 kilometers away. And at the center lies a 6-ton slab called the altar stone. For over a century, everyone assumed it came from Wales too. Every test drew a blank. Then, in 2024, researchers analyzed mineral grains inside fragments collected as far back as the 1840s. The match came back to the Orcadian Basin in northeast Scotland, 750 kilometers away, possibly by sea. Nobody has fully explained how, but the implication is bigger than the logistics. Moving a stone that far requires people across the whole of Britain agreeing that it mattered. And that's the pattern hiding underneath every one of these sites. The hard part was never lifting. Physics gives you levers, ropes, ramps, and friction control. The hard part is feeding hundreds of workers for years, coordinating them and keeping them willing. Every megalith is really a monument to logistics, which is why the ancient aliens explanation gets the story exactly backwards. It assumes these people were incapable when the evidence shows the opposite. They understood friction, resonance, balance, and leverage well enough to make 80 tons behave like 8. They didn't need wheels. They understood the ground the stone was standing on better than we did.